Welcome, everybody. So you just caught the little short version of my story, which is why I said it nice and loud. But now it's official. So I've not been in the best of places, and I'm very appreciative of the space that the community has been holding for me, in order to share what it is that I'm sharing, because it's always my hope that I'm not just emotionally vomiting all over all of you, and that by sharing my process, that I'm actually um, doing the work that needs to be done to kind of empathetically tune us into each other a little bit more. Because that's really, if there's something that I want to think about, a legacy, it's like radical acceptance and a space of non-judgment, so that everybody can come to a place where they feel that not only are you not weird, but you're not alone. It's like, wow, that's such a great feeling to be able to hold a space for that, and to know that this is the way that I feel called to teach, and that I do get responses from a lot of you, saying that I like the physical work and it feels great, but most of the time I come for the talk, and it's like, and at the beginning, like there's something, it's like, what were you in my car on the way over here? Like, how do you know what's happening? Like, I was just talking about this and I was having this problem, and then there's this thing, and I didn't really know what to say. And it's like, there it is. Like it's the feedback that I need. And sometimes that's also what the process that you undergo when you start doing more yoga on a physical level is, that you're actually then opening yourself up to a new awareness of community, of who you actually are, instead of who you've been maybe conditioned to believe that you are. I was just saying to my son, sitting him down and going over the paperwork for this new neurofeedback thing that we're going to be doing with him. And it's just such a breath of fresh air to actually have hope about something that it could be like, oh, this is a positive thing, and that there's actual proof, and this is research based. And it's, I get called a hippie a lot by certain parties, and that look at him and look at our situation like, oh, it's just bad parenting. And in the meantime, it's like, oh, he's just a behavior problem. And in the meantime, I have my other son who's like a straight A student, and I don't get credit for that one. I just get blamed for the behavior problem. So it also doesn't make any sense. So I feel like I'm crazy most of the time, and just then fighting incessantly. So when you get some validation about certain things, it's like, oh, yes, thank you. And I trust my gut. My gut instinct has been saying this the entire time. I'm going to find it. I'm going to find something. I'm going to get him the help that he needs. And I'm just going to keep going. It doesn't matter what my brain says. My brain says, oh, maybe they're right. Maybe you're not doing it right. Maybe you are a crappy mom. Maybe it is your business that you're running. Maybe you don't pay attention to him enough. Maybe you don't do enough. So my brain would keep trying to, get in there. And my gut just kept saying, stick the course, stick the course. It's going to be okay. And doing this process of yoga can get you really connected to your physical gut instinct. This month, the root chakra is really about becoming fully embodied and trusting that this intelligent machine that you have is amazing. It gives you information all the time. You can make decisions from your body all the time. If you listen to what your body is genuinely telling you, there's a lot of information. There's a lot of biofeedback that we're getting that says yes, and that also says no. So learning how to read what your personal yes is and what your personal no is. Knowing if it's something is coming from fear-based conditioning, or if something is like the voice of your spirit guiding you towards the next place of your spiritual evolution. It's clear. We get this information, and it kind of happened to me. It's happened to me multiple times in my life, but really, clear in the sand was when making the decision to move from my old studio to this one. I was in this old space for 4 years. In fact, it's just about my 6-year anniversary. May 1st was like the first day that I opened 6 years ago. And if I knew, all 6 years ago, I put $30,000 into a space, and I made it, and I had this vision about what it was going to be, and I put all this money in, and I made it, and within 4 years, we were busting at the seams. I couldn't contain it. I started too small. Isn't that interesting? But I didn't know. What did I know? I had to kind of like make the best guess and these educated guesses and trying to make some, decisions based on, I don't know, I've never run a business before. I didn't know what I was going to do, but my gut told me, do this. I was going through a divorce. I had a job that I had left years before that I couldn't crack back into. And if I did, it was going to be in Manhattan. And I was going to be, getting on trains and dealing with childcare and all of these other things. And I said, or I could open a business a town away and I could work like an animal for a while. And I think it'll all work out. If you build it, they will come. So I stayed. And there were a lot of times in those first couple of years that it was just a few people or no shows. And I was teaching 6 and 7 classes a day for 7 days a week. And I would just show up with my enthusiasm. And if, one person showed up, I was like, I'm going to give you the best class you've ever had in your life. And I would just sit and I would be there. And I felt all this determination. It was faith. Faith doesn't make logical sense. It's just this thing that you do because you feel committed. And that was my gut was telling me, just stick the course. 4 years later, I'm busting at the seams. I have to move. I'm looking at rents. It's like double, triple on Main Street. It was ridiculous for bigger spaces. I didn't want to leave Bayshore. All right. I took a different route home. One time, I always drove down 4th Avenue to just go back. That day I decided to take Main Street and make a right onto 5th Avenue. And something went like this and turned my head, and I saw a going out of business sign in that front window. There was no for lease sign, just going out of business. And I thought, I know that space. It's a really nice space. What's going on in there? I wonder how much that rent is. I wonder who owns that building. How would I find out? Who'd I talk to? And then I just started making phone calls, and I found out. And then within 2 weeks, I had signed a lease, and I was moving in within 4. And I had to lay down all of this money, and I had to go through this whole, and it's more rent, and it's more everything. And my brain said, warning, warning, danger. Are you crazy? Are you going to take this on by yourself? What are you thinking? You put $30,000 into this space. You can't leave. You can't afford. What are you doing? And I said, but I think that's where I'm supposed to be, and I think that space is going to be better, and I think it's twice the practice space, and I think we can do this. And my heart and my gut and my brain kept going, mm-mm. So I put myself into some pretty serious anxiety, and I couldn't sleep, and I started to wear down, and I could feel my energy. I was getting irritable and snappy, and I just didn't. I felt very disconnected. My heart and my gut were very. Were fighting with my brain. And finally I said, all right, in a moment of meditation, I went to the beach, I sat, I trusted that my body was going to give me the sign that I needed. What am I going to do? Okay, how does my body feel about staying in the 4th Avenue location? And I felt this kind of like drop. Just this kind of like internal sinking, like, And I said, okay, how do I feel about moving into this new space? And it was like I felt my heart kind of expand, and I started to get tingles in my fingers. And I was like, that's it. Fear loses today. Sign the check. It's like, make this happen. The money will come. It will all be okay. And it has been. So you have this really intelligent machine that wants to give you this information about the decisions that you make with your life. They don't always make logical sense. And the best time to ask yourselves those questions is after you do a yoga practice, because we clear out the static of your conditioned mind. You clear out the day. That's why I sage, shut the things. Everything is intentional. There's meant to be no distraction here from your information for you to receive that guidance from yourself. What's the big question you want to ask yourself? Set some intention. Listen to your body. Ask for clear guidance. It wants to communicate with you. Spirit is working overtime to try to get you to pay attention to this beautiful body that you have. So as you're practicing, listen to the voices. Is it coming from your head, or is it coming from your body? What is your body asking you for? If you pay attention and you give it what it needs while you're here, instead of beating it up or thinking about what you're going to do after you leave, or thinking about your laundry, or thinking about that thing, that conversation that you're still gnawing on, bring yourself back into your body. It's okay that your mind wandered, but bring yourself back into your body. Commit to being present for yourself for this next hour. Just commit to being here, showing up, listening. What do you need? What do you need? I'm here for you. How may I serve? And then your body will never steer you wrong. You have so many neural pathways in the gut, and there's all kinds of research that's proving all kinds of stuff now. And that's the gut. That's if you have an in-tune connection to your gut, this is the second brain. Trust it. Trust what this has to say, and then follow your gut instinct through your practice. And then notice when you make time regularly to sit with, clear the static, and ask yourself the questions, it will start to come, and at first you'll doubt it. At first you'll be like, well, of course that's what I want. So careful. The mind has a purpose. It's rational, and we can let it do its thing. We can give it jobs. It's good at organizing information and, creating these like nice linear patterns. That's great. The mind is not supposed to be suppressed. Our thoughts, it's like divine intelligence. It's passing through us. It's prana. But if they're hyper negative, overly critical, and excessively worrying, it's the brain on overdrive. And then we just have to give the brain a break and start to do our own neurofeedback patterning. So that's what the fascinating thing about this thing that I had this afternoon was that she said, well, we can do a lot of things with diet and exercise and meditation and yoga. Neurofeedback is like all of those things for the person who can't do those things. It's like you can pay for it to have them. I said, oh, so you're going to sit down. It's like just hooking my son up and having his brain do yoga for 40 sessions, and then that's what you can see, that there's proof of this neurofeedback. I would love to hook me up to a machine and then start getting on this machine and then seeing what happens, because if this is what I could do all of this work with just yoga alone, imagine what superpowers we could be, right? So really attend to it in your practice. Ask for that guidance. How can I change? How can I make my brain better? All of these things are going to come, and you can rewire yourself. It's really actually beautiful and amazing and hopeful, right? Not just for myself and for my son, but for our consciousness of our society. We can change, and it's a really beautiful thing when we come to do it together. And if we trusted more of our body's instincts, then we would also not just be operating with each other through the head, but really then how are we connecting through our hearts? How are we connecting and sharing power through our core? When you are in the presence of people who hold themselves from that space, it's obvious. It's like poise. They're connected to themselves. They have that sense of power. So when you feel that in yourself, then that's also what you will radiate and attract. Like attracts like. Then we start to really make a big difference on the world around us. So let's come into our quiet seat and kind of connect to your own body, your own core in this moment, and also giving space to acknowledge if you feel disconnected from it. You're not alone. As we get grounded and we lift, then we start to feel that navel pulling back toward the spine and to lift up through the sternum. Give your shoulders a roll. Release them down away from your ears. And notice, how do you feel today in this body, in this skin that you're in? And it's okay if you're feeling a little low energy, crispy fried, overworked, maybe emotionally exhausted, mentally drained. It's all a part of where you are in this moment, and it's okay. As we ground and really feel the connection to your body, let's have everybody turn your palms facing down today, so that when you feel the warmth of yourself, you also send the message, it's safe to be in this body. It's safe to be here and to stay present in this body. I'm welcoming all parts of myself into this room so I can be fully present to attend to my body's needs. I start to connect that to the breath. As you inhale, really flood all the way down to the pelvic floor. And gush it out. Letting go. A few more times just like that. If you want to bring some sound or sighing, please honor it. 2 more times. Letting go of the day. And start to layer in now your deep Ujjayi breathing. Now we keep the mouth closed. And Ujjayi is an oceanic sound constricting the back of the throat on the inhales and the exhales. It's the same muscles that you use when you whisper, or if you're trying to fog up a mirror. If you're not sure of it yet, do it with your mouth open for the first few rounds. This conscious pranayama, breath control, it helps to regulate your nervous system, can lower your blood pressure. It helps to bring us under control in this moment. When we stay really present with your breath throughout the entire practice, you'll notice when you stop breathing. You'll come back to that conscious breath. We'll set our collective intentions to be really sensitive and open to receive guidance from our bodies. What is our clear feeling of yes, I want that? And what's a clear feeling of no, please stop? When we acknowledge that, we'll hear it more in the world around us. We'll open the practice by chanting Om 3 times together. Inhale deeply. Allow your eyes to softly float.